right there, they had other nations taken down, like the Babylonians. Today, the modern day Babylonians, who you know, are the Ethiopians. Right?
Yeah.
That's who they are. All right. The Persians are the Iranians. The Medes are the Japhetic people, the wise more than the Chinese. The Greeks, which you know goes into Alexander, are so-called meaning not really correct, so-called white people, because when you go into history and actual documents, the real Greeks were dark-skinned people.
Okay. Jesus was dark-skinned.
Well, hold on, jumping way, you know.
I studied all this.
Now, the real Greeks were dark-skinned people. You had a guy by the name of Sir Arthur Koestler go on the island of Crete, and he was looking at the artifacts on the island of Crete. He was an explorer, and from his research, the pictures up that they had, which the Greeks had long hair, but they were dark-skinned people. They would paint the women white and the men dark-skinned. Now, the reason why the women were white is because that differentiates the sexes, because they both had long hair. So they would paint them white and they would paint the men dark-skinned, but they all were dark-skinned, right? But the ancient Greeks are the Hawaiians, Moors, and the Tonganese, the Aborigines of Australia, things of that nature. Now, what happened was so-called white people took that name and placed it on themselves, starting with Alexander, right? Now, when they came into power, they were taken down by the Romans, those so-called white people. So you got the Greco-Roman Empire, which merged together. Now, during that time, you had during the Roman Empire, you had the Israelites, right, in slavery up under the Roman Empire because they were occupying their land. They were paying taxes. When you pay taxes, you were slavery. Okay? And you had going into the time of the Lord, right? Which he was a dark-skinned man. Now, going back to all them empires, they all failed. So, what you were saying about America, right? You were saying they got, going into the ancient world, people got greedy, they care about they, doing whatever. Well, that's the same way of life America is taking on by being the police of the whole world, going into other countries, rape, robbing, murdering, and stealing their resources. Now,
so the other great empires.
Now, this is the most deadliest one though. The people that they had on the transatlantic slave trade and put on them ships is the chosen people of the Heavenly Father, which are the true biblical Israelites. But those names that you see right there, like African American, West Indian, Haitian, Puerto Rican, those names were put on them when they were conquered by so-called white people. So they took their real nationality, which is Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and so on and so forth, and put on African American, West Indian, and Haitian. Now, the reason why the so-called blacks in this country call themselves African American because that term was put on because they were conquered, and to also say that they are civilized people according to America, because before they got African American, they called them color, black. You see, they gave them bywords. But this right here, when they put African American on, was told Jesse Jackson started calling them African Americans by the so-called Jews who run it.
Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson was told to call us African Americans by the so-called Jews. The Jews run it.
He did that
modern day time now.
He did that in the 80s.
Huh?
He did that in the 80s.
That term African American is modern. That's not an ancient term.
Yeah, no. Okay.
You see, when you do research on that term Africa goes to a Roman general by the name of Leo Scipios Africanus, who conquered Hannibal in the Third Punic War. Okay? And the term America go back to a so-called white man named Amerigo Vespucci, which was a contemporary, just like Christopher Columbus. He was a sea traveler, a merchant. So they took them two names by two so-called white men and merged them and said, okay, y'all African American. Which that's not a nationality. Those are names of men. Which your nationality starts with your father. Okay? And we are not descendants of Leo Scipios Africanus nor of Amerigo Vespucci. We're not descendants of them. Those are so-called white men. Now, the biblical nationality of the so-called white man, since you have did a little studying, have you searched out Esau?
Esau from the Bible?
Yeah.
What's his name's brother? The twin.
Jacob.
Jacob's.
Yeah.
That's just what I've read in the Bible.
Now in the Bible it tells you that Esau came out red, hairy all over like a garment when you read the Genesis 25th chapter. Now what had happened was the so-called Jews that run everything, which we gonna throw out names, the Rothschilds, the DuPont, the Yeti, the Warburg, the Oppenheimer, those folks, right? The bankers, they control the media, they control the banking system, they control the documents that come out in history. They got gatekeepers. Like when you go to college, if you come in saying Christopher Columbus did not discover America, then they would shun that and say that's not part of the curriculum.
I read that he wasn't the original discoverer.
Okay, no, he wasn't. The original discoveries of America go all the way back to Solomon. Solomon and Hiram Abiff, which Hiram was a so-called, Hiram was a so-called African, okay, which he was, today as a Canaanite, okay. Now, Solomon had fleets to come over here to build the temple of the Heavenly Father. So the children of Israel knew about America. Now, going into the future, you had the Native Americans been over here for ever since about 720. They left around 724, somewhat circa 724 to 722 BC, and they ended up over here. So they've been over here at least for about 3,000 years. Okay, so before Columbus, which he had Hebrew interpreters on his ship, they knew exactly, because Columbus was reading the Bible. He was reading the fourth evidence. That's what he was reading, the fourth evidence, which we know it today is second evidence. It's in the Apocrypha. And what he was reading was how the natives, meaning the Puerto Ricans, the Native Americans, the Mexicans, how they had left on the other side of the water over there in Jerusalem, how they had left from the Syrian captivity and came on this side. So they knew the history on how the Israelites came over here. And they had records, and they got about like 5,000 years worth of records. So they knew the history. And when they came over here, they were watching and looking at the customs of the people that was on this land, the indigenous people, how they was keeping customs of the Bible, how they were keeping feast days, how they wore their garments. They was watching, they was monitoring. So they got records in the Library of Congress, they got records in the Smithsonian Institute, and they got records in the Vatican on these people on this side, right? And then on the transatlantic slave trade, you had the British go. You had the British, the French, and the Dutch go into Africa, right? Let me go back. The first slaves did not come out of Africa. They came out of Spain in 1517, right? And you had the British, which was part of the transatlantic slave trade, and those were so-called Jews who funded the transatlantic slave trade. They was going to them Africans over there, right? Barack Obama people, because we're a different nation.
Yeah.
He is an Ethiopian. We are Israelites. In other words, he's an ancient Babylonian, and we are Israelites. Okay? Now, what they would do is pay them Africans, and they would go into the interior of Africa and round us up and bring us to the so-called white man with mustard, guns, and wine. And while they were rounding up, they knew, the tribes over there knew who they were grabbing up. They knew that they were grabbing up Israelites because of the custom. How we was keeping the commandments, certain commandments, while we were still over there. And they got records showing, which we happen to have, showing that they was grabbing up Hebrews. And on some of them slave pictures, when they said Negroes for sale, the word there was changed. It was really supposed to be Hebrew, but they put Negro up there. Why? Because to control the masses, and so the masses won't know who the true biblical Hebrew Israelites are. And that's how them terms like African American was pushed forth on us as a nation of people to hide our true identity. Okay? So
you know,
what's going to happen to America is
who are the people that Hitler then had?
Well, Hitler himself.
Weren't they Jews?
Well, Hitler himself was a so-called Jew. Okay?
Yeah, he wasn't from Germany.
He was a so-called Jew. Hitler, when he was in the records on Hitler, when you go into the records on Hitler, his real name was Adolf Schicklgruber. Okay? His real name is Adolf Schicklgruber. And in Austria, Germany, to hide his identity, he went down there and bulldozed some of his family members to hide his identity of who he was. When you go into the record, when you search out Austria, Germany, about Hitler hiding his identity that he was a Jew. Okay, what he would do was bulldoze his ancestry, because they was going down there and searching and seeing who was in the grave and who he was allergic to, related to, and all that right there. And they would bulldoze the grave so they would hide his relationship to the so-called Jews. Now, what happened in Germany is the so-called Jews, what they did was boycotted all the stores and they bankrupted Germany. And therefore, Hitler created a lot of jobs. He didn't actually kill the Jews. Why? Because the real Jews are the so-called African Americans.
So that's what I was trying to get to. So you don't believe that, y'all don't feel that those Jews were the blessed of God?
No. We know.
Sons of Abraham.
Now, we gonna get it out the Bible to prove that the Bible said different. Now, this is the word of the Heavenly Father. Now, if any records you want to find about Israelites, where would you go? To the Bible. Because that's where their history is at. It's located in the Bible. Right? So give me Revelation 2.
I guess. It's Revelation 2 and 9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation, poverty.
Now, poverty, when you look at this sign and examine it, all those people as a nation, I ain't talking about as an individual, I'm talking about as a nation. If you examine them down in South America and up here, they all in poverty. They don't got nothing. Okay? The banksters control everything. Now, the banksters.
I know, I just read recently where all this land was given to these tribes. They struck oil.
But the thing about it is, even though they struck oil, right, which the Bible prophesied that some of them land will have resources like that.
Yeah.
Why do you think they came? Why do you think Columbus came over? Resources.
That's why they were digging, because of the prophecy in the Bible about some wealth in the ground, wealth in the land.
Talking about
you talking about South America?
Yeah, you talking about Genesis, talking about Asher.
Yeah, but
dip their foot in the ground.
Now that's all. Now, even though they have them resources, but who is gonna control it? Not them, so-called white men. Because if you're not in his part of his democracy, which that goes into controlling all the resources. That's what you see what's going on with Venezuela. They squeezing Venezuela. They want the resources. So if they had their own barter system and had their own Federal Reserve, so-called Federal Reserve system, their own barter system, they wouldn't be going through what they're going through. They're able to be squeezed like that because they don't control it. Okay? That's why they catch hell like that. But these people on this sign, they don't own no banking system. Have you ever researched what is that in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Black Wall Street? When you research Black Wall Street in the 1920s, the so-called Negroes was very wealthy during the 1920s. And they had grocery stores, they had banks, they had movie theaters, they had trains, and they had an airplane. And what had happened was the so-called white man, which is called Black Wall Street, when you look it up, went in there and bombed them, right? Before he bombed them, he went in there and stole everything and then bombed them and killed a lot of Negroes that control a lot of resources and wealth. Now, like I was saying, when you search out these people on this sign as a nation, they all in poverty. They don't own nothing, okay? As a nation, I can't go to a so-called Puerto Rican that owns a bank and get a loan from him. I can't go to a so-called black hospital where the blacks own their hospital. I can't go to a so-called Walmart to where so-called Mexican is owning the franchise of Walmart. No. And we don't own the distribution center. So-called Jews own all that. So read that again.
This Revelation 2 and 9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
Why are they rich? Because they have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Bible. It was given to them. That's why they're rich. Okay? Not rich on natural resources, rich on knowledge. Go ahead.
Solomon.
Go ahead.
And it says, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Chief house of Satan. So there it is. In the Revelation. I'm telling you, big as day. Go to the third chapter.
I got you. This 3 and 9. Yeah. It says, this Revelation 3 and 9. It says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
So them so-called Jews gonna come worship before I come, because the Heavenly Father loves us, not them. They was placed in that land in 1948 during the where the Prophet Declaration was brought out during the First World War.
It became a nation.
That became a so-called, it became a Israeli state. Okay, and it was recognized by America. Okay, that Bible Declaration was written up in World War I, and it was implemented to the people right after World War II, and in 1948, that's when they got that land. They didn't get that land by the Heavenly Father placing them back in there.
So what do you think? I got a